Hi, how are you? Welcome to the latest video. Today I'm going to be making something called butter tea. Now, some of you may have heard of butter tea, some of you may have never heard of it. I was recently watching a travel series on YouTube, and the people in the series were in Tibet. And some of the locals in the little village they were staying in Tibet made them something called butter tea. And I thought, wow, that looks really interesting. So I looked online, and sure enough, there are many different recipes online for butter tea. Now, some of them are more authentic than others. Some of them really get into the very authentic ingredients that you would have to buy in a specialty store. But I also found some recipes that were very simple and very simplified in comparison to the traditional recipes for butter tea. So, in the following video, I'm going to show you how to make a very easy and quick butter tea. Let's have a look. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to be making some butter tea, and I will tell you that this is a very simplified recipe. This is a recipe that I found online. Now, the first thing we're going to do is to boil 4 cups of water, and then we're going to add some tea to the water. Now, they do recommend pretty much any kind of plain black tea. What I'm going to use is Tata tea from India, and you can see there's 2 tea bags here. They say if you want it lighter, use just 1 bag. If you want it stronger, use 3. So I'm going to use the 2 tea bags that you see on the screen. And then after we steep the tea, we're basically going to add salt, butter, and milk, blend it all up, and that will be our butter tea. So let's begin this process and make some. Okay, so our 4 cups of water is now up to a nice rolling boil. So I'm going to add the 2 tea bags and going to let it steep for a few minutes. And it did say in the recipe to just let the water boil while the tea is steeping. Okay, so it's been boiling now for a couple of minutes. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now I'm going to remove the tea bags. Okay, now you've noticed that I've turned down the heat a little bit, and I'm going to add 1/2 cup of milk. Now, it mentions in the recipe that I'm supposed to pour my tea mixture into something called a chandong, which is basically a type of churn. Now, I understand that these chandongs are pretty much impossible to find outside of Tibet. So if you don't have access to a chandong, you can use any container that has a lid. So as you can see here, I have a container that I'm going to pour the tea mixture into. And once we have the tea mixture in there, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. And you can see I have 1 tablespoon of butter here ready to go. And once we put the tea mixture and the butter together in the sealed container, we shake it up, and we shake it for a good 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll have our butter tea. Now, I understand some people use a blender, and I understand that many people in Tibet use a blender to make their butter tea. But to keep things simple, I'm just going to use this sealed container. So I will blend it and shake it up, and then I'll try this butter tea. Okay, so this butter tea has been blended. I shook it for a good 3 minutes. So now I'm going to pour it in a cup and give it a try. It does mention in the recipe that it is best to drink your butter tea when it is still quite warm. So I'm very curious to give this a try. Okay, so I'm going to give this butter tea a try. Now, it did mention in the recipe that to many people from outside of Tibet, this butter tea has a very unusual taste. Non-Tibetans find this very different. So it's recommended that rather than thinking of it as a tea, think of it as a light soup. So I will do that. Here we go. Yeah, that is definitely different. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's actually quite good. Again, to someone like me who's from North America, it is definitely unusual. Very unusual. But it has an undeniably soothing kind of comfort food quality to it. It's nice and buttery, and just a little hint of salt just gives it that nice sort of warming, soothing quality, very comforting. I could see if you were outside on a cold winter's day and you came inside and drank some of this, it would warm you right up. I could see it being very ideal in that situation. Yeah, I can definitely see why they recommend thinking of it more as a light soup than a tea. Because to me, it really doesn't taste like a tea. It doesn't have the texture of a tea, the quality, the aroma, nothing. Again, it's more like a kind of a salty butter soup, if that makes any sense. But it's not bad at all. I quite like the butter, the creaminess of the butter, the milk, the tea. It all comes together very well. And again, I wouldn't put in more than 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I think that's just the right amount. Just enough, but not too much. Gives it a nice, pleasant saltiness. Yeah, if you're someone who loves butter, maybe if you're the kind of person who puts butter in all of your cooking, you'd probably like this. Again, the best way I can describe it, savory, buttery, salty, very comforting. Not bad at all, not bad at all. I think next time I would probably use 3 tea bags rather than 2. Again, my preference is I tend to like my teas a bit on the stronger side. And I can taste the tea in this, but I think if the level of tea taste was just a little bit higher, I'd like it even more. But otherwise, very unique. I'm glad I took the opportunity to make this. I'm glad I tried it. Because it's definitely a very memorable drink. Again, this is a very simplified version of butter tea. In certainly places like Tibet, I think they use things like yak milk and various other spices to sort of give it a very authentic taste. So this is kind of a watered down North American version of butter tea. But still, not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, give this a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So that's how you make butter tea. I hope you give it a try. And please, if you do make this recipe, let me know how it turned out. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Feel free to leave a comment in the comments section. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I post new videos all the time, and we would love to have you join our family. And subscribing is the best way to stay on top of all the latest tea reviews. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.